Hi, I'm Emily Swallow. I play the armorer on The Mandalorian, and I am skywalking through Neverland. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
The Mandalorian has taken Star Wars fandom by storm. It's unanimous that we all love Baby Yoda, but there's another mysterious character that we adore on the show.
She's the one to go to when you need a new Beskar steel outfit. She is the armorer. She is Emily Swallow. And we are so excited to have her here with us now on Skywalking Through Neverland. This is the way, Emily.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite intro I've ever gotten, I think.
We aim to please.
Can I just have you guys introduce me everywhere for the rest of my life?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's not high maintenance or anything, is it?
No.
Not at all. Not at all. Now, how often do people say to you, this is the way?
They say it to me all the time, but I never get tired of hearing it because I've never had a catchphrase that has caught on so universally, and it's so much fun.
Aww.
And I believe you were the first one to say it on the show, right?
Yes, I definitely was when I was having to bring down the discipline on those pesky Mandalorians that were fighting.
The foundlings are the future. This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
You really commanded that scene. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a Star Wars fan are you, with 10 being hardcore?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what the rating is based on. If it's based on enthusiasm, I'm definitely a 10. But if it's based on
nice.
all the intricate knowledge, I have learned a lot since I started working on The Mandalorian, but I know that there's still so much that is untapped. I'm continuing to learn.
Yeah, it is really deep.
And we base everything on enthusiasm, so you're a 10.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Every step of the way.
Yay!
So yeah, and we'd love to know how you started with The Mandalorian. What was the process like getting the role of the armorer?
You know, it was remarkably boring. Considering what it is. I remember it was a few months before I got married, so I was very focused on that. And I got this audition for something that my agent said they thought was probably Star Wars, but you know, it had like a code name, and I got a couple of scenes that were not attached to any sort of script, because when you're going in for something like that, they want you to know as little as possible, which always makes for an interesting audition process. But actually, one of the scenes I know now was pretty similar to that scene in Chapter 3 with the other Mandalorians when the fight breaks out and she's talking about their code of conduct. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I went in with the casting associate, and they told me basically all I knew about the character was that she was a leader of a group of people. They said she was very Zen-like. So we tried the scene a couple of times, and then the casting associate Jason, he said, you know, we've mostly been seeing Brits for this part, because I think it was originally it said British woman in her 50s or 60s. So he said, why don't you do a take with a British accent? So I did that.
Oh, wow.
What?
And then that's how the voice came about, because I guess they liked that version of it.
This was once the forge of our covert. I have been to the great forge on Mandalore.
Yeah, so then I found out that I got it, but I still knew so little about what it was. You know, of course, nothing had been announced, and because they were still trying to keep it so secret, I knew it was part of the Star Wars canon, but didn't know when it took place or who was involved, and didn't really learn that much more until I got to set. I mean, I had a costume fitting that really informed who I realized the armorer was, because that incredible costume that I get to wear that Legacy Effects built, we had to start working on it a few months out, and they took a cast of my torso so that they could have it fit perfectly. And as that started to come together, I started to get more of an idea of who she was. And then it wasn't until a few days before shooting that I really got to sit down and talk with Jon Favreau and with Dave Filoni about where this all fit into the Star Wars timeline and where we were and who the armorer was in relation to Din Djarin, our main Mandalorian, kind of the feel that they wanted for her. And John said that one of the things he kept coming back to, which I guess was also something that George Lucas really drew from, was Kurosawa's films. And kind of that, especially with my character, that attention to order and that very authority that is held very simply and almost gently and isn't contingent on a lot of shouting and pushing and shoving and, but just trusting that you have authority. So that was definitely something that helped with her. And once we started shooting, that was really when we started to find out how these characters needed to move, those of us who were in masks and, the Mandalorian gear, and kind of what the language of communication was physically for them. So that's how it all kind of came together into what you finally got to see.
What were you told of the armorer's backstory after you got the part?
I really wasn't given a backstory. So I sort of put together that she had been part of a clan before they had to go into hiding. Sort of keeps the Mandalorians that we meet there on Navarro, like keeps them connected and keeps them rooted to essentially their family. Because I think like for the Mandalorians, like once you are a Mandalorian, you are family. And that's why I think that brilliant moment in episode 3 when all the Mandalorians come together to defend him, like that speaks so much to this code of watching out for each other. Because even though just a few scenes prior, they'd been kind of picking a fight with him and they had problems with him, when push comes to shove, they all came to defend him. And I think that she's the one that keeps them tethered to that, because we're at a time in the universe now where the Empire's fallen, but no real order has been established yet. So we see a lot of like lone rangers and people who aren't connected to anyone else and who are just looking out for themselves. So I love that in the midst of all that, she continues to bring the Mandalorians back to who they are. And she does that with Din Djarin too. And I think, kind of reminds him where he came from. And I think she sees potential in him and sees what he could be. And she kind of encourages him to be better and do better throughout his journeys.
It sounds like you were piecing together your own backstory from what you were shooting and what you were seeing.
Yeah.
Did you ever approach Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau and say, hey, this is what I have. Can we roll this into my character? And is this okay?
Yeah, I talked about it with them and they agreed with what I was coming up with. And, Dave was really the one. Thank goodness for him, because not only is he just an incredible human being and a wonderful director, but he is a walking encyclopedia of Star Wars. And so all of us were going to him to say like, okay, I think, I'm coming up with this idea now. Where does this fit into the Mandalorians and what we know about the Mandalorians already and what we don't know? And is this okay? And he kept us grounded in what had already been established with the Mandalorians through those animated series that he had worked on, the Clone Wars. So that was incredibly helpful to have.
Oh, I'm sure, since Dave Filoni is really the one to establish the Mandalorian lore.
Yeah.
Now, you have a history of playing very strong female characters from SEAL Team and Supernatural. So what approach did you take that makes the armor different from those characters?
Well, so much of it was done for me. I mean, just the fact that I was in a mask and a suit of armor. And so I had to move differently. And I had a different voice. Like that took care of a lot of it. I will say one thing that I drew from a previous character for was when I started working on Amara on Supernatural and was faced with the prospect of playing this supernatural, all-powerful being. It felt like a tall order. And I found for her that using stillness was a lot more powerful than trying to like convince anyone that I was, that I had a lot of power with a lot of histrionics or anything like that. Because I think the more somebody insists they have power, I think the less we give them that.
Very true.
So there was definitely stillness with her that I used for the armorer. And then part of the, quite frankly, some of the limitations of wearing that suit were really helpful for making her very still and giving her very efficient movement. Because I was in that, the set for my armory was very dimly lit, and I was wearing that helmet which had a tinted eyepiece, and so as it was, I couldn't really see very well. So I I tried not to have any sudden movements because I would run into things or trip on things, or we were constantly like bonking helmets when we had to sit down at that tiny little table that I have that looks so cool, but both of us were having so much trouble sitting, like finding the little stools that we had to sit on. We kept missing them, and then we would like run into each other. And
Oh, I can't wait to see the bloopers on this.
Yeah, outtakes, Disney Plus.
yeah, I know. I really hope that they release some sort of outtakes, because I think it's just a whole other side to it that is pretty hilarious.
Wow.
But having those limitations was actually really helpful, because it made me move more slowly with her and want to be much more deliberate in my movements. And I think that ultimately that really helped convey her authority.
Yeah, that's really the way Jeremy Bulloch took his role of Boba Fett. Very slow and very stealthy, and doesn't need to move that fast until he has to.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your costume, because honestly, I saw your outfit with that gorgeous helmet, and I'm not one for wanting to cosplay armor, but when I saw your outfit, it's like, dude, I want to cosplay that. I want to make your helmet. So
Right?
Yeah, it's amazing. So what was your reaction upon seeing that helmet and your outfit for the first time?
It just took my breath away. I mean, it's beautiful, and the leather is so that, like, every single detail is exquisite, and the way that they put together like that skirt so that she's a woman, but it's still such a powerful costume, and that beautiful pelt of fur that I have over my shoulders. Even though I don't really understand that, if I'm spending all the time around fire, it seems a little bit of a liability. But she hasn't caught on fire yet, so we're okay.
She must have a very good insurance agent.
Yeah, definitely. It helped me so much, and it's great when you have a team that's working on costumes that puts that much attention and thought into it, because then it just helps you establish your character so much more easily. Yeah, I got pretty excited when I first saw it, because I don't think I've ever gotten to wear anything that cool.
Nice. All right, now let's talk about the child in the room.
Yeah.
What did you think when you first saw Baby Yoda?
It's ridiculous. He's so cute. And I mean, he's just, you're looking at him and it's a puppet, but you still just want to like tickle him and pet him. But I mean, I didn't get to see him until we were shooting that last episode, because I read some scripts for episodes that I wasn't in, but I didn't know anything about what was going on with the shooting. So I didn't know, even when I did my scene and encountered him, like just how much of an impact he would have, and how much he factors into the rest of the series. I did get super excited that I was the one that got to reveal information about, where he might have come from.
It looks helpless.
It's injured, but it is not helpless. Its species can move objects with its mind.
I know of such things. The songs of eons past tell of battles between Mandalore the Great and an order of sorcerers called Jedi that fought with such powers.
It is an enemy?
No. Its kind were enemies, but this individual is not.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool. I mean, just like getting to read the word Jedi in the script got me so excited.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a lot of backstory to unpack there.
Yeah.
But in terms of Baby Yoda, what did the producers say to everyone on set to make sure that Baby Yoda was to be kept a secret, or they would meet the same fate as, like, IG-11?
Yeah. Well, they didn't say anything extra about Baby Yoda, because as it was, we had to sign lots of NDAs, and like every time I wanted to read my script, I had to log into this portal, so it was kind of keeping track of like who was reading the script when, and you absolutely couldn't print anything out.
Wow.
So they were really on top of trying to keep things secret. And even I remember when I got there to start shooting, there had already been, and this was early on because I shot all my stuff in October, November, and they didn't wrap until March. I remember when I got to set, I was in my dressing room, in addition to my costume, there was this black hooded cloak, which I started to call our cloaks of invisibility, because we were required to wear them over our costume anytime we were moving around the lot, because there had been some photographers who were on like rooftops, like outside the studio, but they'd captured some pictures of stormtroopers, I guess. So there had already been some production elements that were leaked.
Oh.
So there wasn't anything that was enforced over and above that for Baby Yoda. We just knew we were supposed to keep everything top secret. And I joke with people that, like, I took a few pictures on set but didn't share them with anybody, because I joked that, like, I was convinced that as soon as I pulled a picture out, like, some Disney drone would come along and shoot me down.
Yeah, those Disney Plus snipers, they're ones to watch out for.
Yeah.
Now, right now, Sarah is wearing her Baby Yoda shirt, and we're both wearing our Baby Yoda socks.
Yep. What
piece of Baby Yoda merchandise are you looking forward to getting?
Well, there's an Instagram account called Baby Yoda Daily that I just think is hilarious. It went viral because it started just posting all these Baby Yoda memes, and they started doing some merchandise, including like Baby Yoda yoga leggings. But they have a pendant that says Clan of Two on it, and they're gonna send me one, and I'm excited about that because I do think, I mean, one of the absolutely brilliant things about, in addition to being adorable and hilarious and all these things, it's just such a brilliant addition to the storytelling, because we have this central character whose face you can't see, but once you introduce the child to the story and you see how he interacts with him, it just humanizes him so much. And you kind of, all these emotions that are going on. And I do love that, especially after at the beginning, when he refuses to get his signet because he said, there was an enemy that helped him, and he has all these very mixed feelings about it. I love that the armorer tells him, like, you guys are a clan now. You're a clan of two. And I just think that that's so sweet. And also just, it's so powerful that, the two of them, all they need are each other. So I'm excited to get my little necklace.
Do you have any armorer merchandise yet?
I do. Yay! A fan convention, Wizard World in Portland, and there were people bringing in the Funko Pop of the armorer.
Yay!
And I didn't have one yet, because what I'm learning is that even when they make tons of merchandise with your character on it, nobody ever gives you anything. So one of the I commented to one of the fans when I was signing it that I didn't have one. And he called around to all these stores in Portland and found one and brought it for me the next day. So now I have a Funko Pop, and I have a helmet that a fan made me. A fan who does a lot of cosplay made me this beautiful replica of the armorer's helmet. It's incredible. So that's pretty great. And I've already put it on and scared my dog with it, and she just barks at me. I have those, and I have an armor T-shirt that matches the one that my dad bought, because he bought one. He has to represent.
Of course.
So yeah, I'm getting some fun stuff.
Is this the first character where people have cosplayed as you? And I'm guessing there's nothing from like Guiding Light.
No Guiding Light, no SEAL Team, but people do cosplay Amara from Supernatural. Ooh, and that is a much simpler one to do, because I just wore that black dress for the entire season that I was on there. So that doesn't require quite as much commitment as building an armorer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Man, in the episode Redemption, when you have that hand-to-hand battle scene between those 4 stormtroopers, like, that was a kick-ass scene, and I don't mind saying that out loud. Like, I was like whooping and hollering. So how much of that did you get to film and do yourself?
I wish I could tell you that I had done all of it, and I wanted to do all of it. And our brilliant fight choreographer, he just looked at me and he said, I really appreciate that. We would basically need to stop filming for about a year for you to train to be able to do that.
Oh.
He based a lot of the fight in a martial art called Kali. And so I did work with somebody for the few weeks that I had before we shot that so that I could help like with transitions in and out of it. But most of that is absolutely an incredibly skilled stunt double, which was also so easy for them to do because you don't see my face. So they were like, listen, let's make this look super amazing instead of, having it kind of awkward as it would have been with me probably.
Yeah. Well, what was your reaction when you finally saw that episode and saw that scene?
And were you there on set when they were shooting that?
No, I was not. So I didn't see it until the episode aired. And I knew that's me like at the very end of it striking that victorious pose.
Oh.
So I knew, they told me kind of what was going to happen. And I knew at the beginning that that's me when they come in and the guy like doinks my helmet with his gun. So I knew the gist of what was happening. But I mean, my husband will tell you, because we watched that episode together the day it came out. I just sat there with my mouth wide open because I could not believe how incredible it looked. And I mean, it's just, I feel so lucky that even though it wasn't me doing the whole fight, that's my character. And that after seeing her not display any aggression for the entire time, to see her just come out with that and to get rid of the enemy in that way, to protect Din Djarin and his friends, like, was just, it's so cool. I don't have any words. I just start stuttering and
it very much mirrors Yoda, because up until Attack of the Clones, we just saw him hobbling along on his gimmer stick.
Yeah,
but
that's
when
true.
push comes to shove, he means action. And just like you, you come into my home?
Yeah.
Now, were you on set when George Lucas came to visit?
I was, yeah.
Oh, tell us about that.
Oh, it was incredible. And I stood there listening to him and watching him, and, he's telling these stories and had, probably 50 people around him just hanging on his every word. And what just was so profound to me was thinking back 43, I guess, years ago, when he made that first movie and knowing how much resistance he came up against and trying to get that movie made, seeing how these stories that he created have stuck with us now for 4 decades, and how much passion people still have about Star Wars, and thinking about the technology that existed back then. And then when he came to set, and when I got to hear him talk, he was on the sound stage that had like the big green screen that they shot a lot of the stuff with his ship. And so just thinking about like the differences in technology and how we can tell the stories now. But even with the technology, people wouldn't still be interested in Star Wars if it weren't for the heart of those stories. And I think that that's really endured. And that's just such a testament to this dream that he had and this little idea that he brought to life. It's just so profound to me.
Yeah.
Did you get a selfie with him?
I did not. No.
Oh.
I tend not to ask for selfies. Like the more enamored of somebody I am, the less likely I am to do that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be other chances. Now, we're not suggesting that you took any mementos from this set, but if you could, what would it be?
Well, I think if I kidnapped Baby Yoda, I'd get in big trouble.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to have some of the armorer's tools. I mean, I had, that big hammer that is in the fight. There were 2 versions of that. There was like an aluminum one that was incredibly light and easy to handle. And then there was one that was made from like solid steel and would be, when I felt the weight of that and knew that was going to be taken into a battle, I knew that there were going to be some people in trouble. But it was beautiful. And before doing this, I didn't know anything about blacksmithing, and I got to learn a little bit about it along the way. And now since then, it's really cool too. And at this last convention that I did, there were a number of people who came up to me and said that they are blacksmiths, and that's a craft that they have cultivated. And so it's been really cool to learn more details about that.
Awesome.
Wow.
Well, before we let you go, I had one last question, and that is, you worked on the show Timeless.
I did.
which we love, and it stars Clone Wars alumni Matt Lanter. And you were in this episode, The Salem Witch Hunt, where you played Bathsheba Pope.
She's a witch snitch.
Yeah, right?
No, she was telling on her neighbors.
Do you have like any fun story from that shoot at all?
Oh, goodness. I'm trying to remember now. I'm sure that there were.
Yeah, there was Goran Visnich was in it.
Yeah.
And...
Oh, he was lovely. Oh, well, no, I do remember one thing specifically related to him. He was commenting on the name Bathsheba and what an interesting name it was. And I said, well, do you know the Bible story about Bathsheba? And he had never heard that. So a few of us were explaining to him that Bathsheba was this seductress in the Bible and had, brought down King David and all this stuff. And he was just fascinated by that.
Wow.
I remember he said, well, this Bathsheba is very different from that. And I think he was kind of hoping that she would show a more adventurous side.
Yeah, I think Timeless goes right underneath The Mandalorian in our favorite TV shows.
I know.
What if I love any show involving time travel? When I was growing up, I loved watching Quantum Leap.
Oh, me too. Oh,
so much fun when you get to just jump to different eras and different times.
Definitely.
Wow.
All right. Well, Emily, we know you have to go, but where can our Skywalkers, our listeners, keep up with you on social media? I
am on Twitter and Instagram as Biggie Swalls, which is BIGESWALLZ. And I do really try to respond to messages that people send me, or I've been having so much fun, especially on Instagram, when people send me their fan art. It's fun to tag them in it and to share it with everybody, because people just create some incredible things. And on Facebook, I have a fan page under my name, Emily Swallow. So I'm trying to be hip with all the social media.
Awesome.
Oh, it sounds like you are. All right, Emily. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Skywalking Through Neverland.
This is the way.
Nice.
Thank you. This was so much fun. It was really great to talk to you guys.
Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.